Welcome to this Learn at Work webinar sponsored by the journal Work, a journal of prevention, assessment, and rehabilitation published by iOS Press in the Netherlands. I'm Karen Jacobs, the founding editor of Work, and I'll be the moderator today. Thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to our speaker who will introduce himself and the webinar. Thank you again.
Well, good morning, everybody. And my name is Giuseppe La Torre. I am a professor of occupational medicine at Sapienza University in Rome, and I am also the responsible for the School of Specialization in Occupational Medicine in Rome. Today, my focus is to mindfulness. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Karen Jacobs for inviting me. And this is a very interesting opportunity for me to talk about mindfulness. And why mindfulness? We use mindfulness as a tool for reducing stress in a healthcare professional. And just to clarify, today I will present an umbrella review, but before going into details, I would like to remind some specification concerning definition. So this is the index of my presentation. First of all, I would like to show what is the work-related stress. Secondly, we would like to show what is mindfulness. And finally, the results of the systematic review that was published on the journal of Work. Well, first of all, I would like to share with you the definition of work-related stress according to WHO. And work-related stress can be considered the response people may have when presented with work demands and pressures that are not maintained to their knowledge and abilities and which challenge their ability to cope. Moreover, stress occurs in a wide range of work circumstances, but is often made worse when employees feel they have little support from supervisors and colleagues, as well as little control over work processes. Again, what are the causes of work-related stress? First of all, we need to recognize that poor work organization is the basis of work-related stress. And in terms of the way we design jobs and work system, the way we manage them. Also, work-related stress can be related to poor work design. As an example, lack of control over work processes, but also poor management in the company, unsatisfactory working conditions by the employee, and lack of support from colleagues and supervisors. These are something that we need to know about work-related stress. And what about mindfulness? Well, this definition is coming from mindful.org, and in which mindfulness is considered the basic human ability to be fully present, aware where we are and what we are doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. But very recently, we can consider also some other definitions. The definition from John Kabat-Zinn, according to which mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. There is also a very good definition of mindfulness, according to Thich Nhat Hanh, according to which mindfulness shows us what is happening in our bodies, our emotions, our mind, and in the world. And through mindfulness, we avoid harming ourselves and others. Okay, so just to remind these definitions that are very, very important to understand what we are looking at. And this is the article that we published a few months ago concerning the mindfulness as a tool for reducing stress in a specific setting in the sense of healthcare professionals. We carried out an umbrella review that is a review of reviews. So, some background in order to talk about the paper. Well, first of all, we are looking at healthcare providers. Why? Because they are particularly exposed to various determinants of stress in the workplace. And usually, healthcare providers faced with organizational issues, but also, and mainly, I can say, diagnostic and therapeutic using, as well as have to face the suffering of people on a daily basis. So, usually these aspects are associated with the development of progressive physical and psychological stressful status of the healthcare professionals, which consequently make them more likely to develop anxiety, depression, and burnout. And this in turn can negatively have an impact on both patients and healthcare systems by causing medical errors, but also longer patient hospital stay and poor patient care. What is the aim of this study of the umbrella review? Well, providing an overview of systematic and narrative reviews. So two types of reviews, systematic and narrative, focusing on mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, but also mindfulness-based intervention, MBIs, in the healthcare professionals and healthcare students. But also, another aim is to give a summary indicating implication for future research regarding mindfulness training and their impact on healthcare professionals, health, and wellness. Well, what are the methods that we used? First of all, identification of relevant studies. Well, this is so important when we conduct and we carried out a systematic review. This is a systematic review of systematic and narrative reviews that examine the impact of mindfulness-based stress reduction and other mindfulness-based intervention on healthcare professionals and student stress were identified through a systematic search of 3 electronic databases. Many of you maybe are confident with these databases, such as PubMed, Scopus, and Web of Science. All studies, regardless of time of publication, were considered for inclusion, but remember, the study, in order to be included, need to be a review. Moreover, we consider papers published in English, French, and Italian. Eligible studies were selected by 2 researchers as in each systematic review through a multi-step approach, including title and abstract screening and full text evaluation. And we use a very simple search algorithm in databases, mindfulness and healthcare professional or nurse or doctor with the asterisks and stress reduction and review. So again, from the methodological point of view, what were the study selection and eligibility criteria? Well, we can say the first selection was performed by filtering duplicate articles, and then title abstract screening was performed by 2 researchers, and finally the full text assessment was performed and we use a particular approach of inclusion-exclusion criteria following the PICOS approach, PICOS search strategy tool. And PICOS means population, intervention, comparison, outcome, and study design. And in the table I show you, these are the particular aspects that were considered using the PICOS approach. For the inclusion criteria, the population was represented by healthcare professionals, but also healthcare students. And we so excluded patients and general populations. As far as concerned the interventions, we considered the mindfulness-based stress reduction and also the mindfulness-based interventions. The comparators were any comparator. The outcomes were a lot of items. So first of all, well-being, but also mainly perceived stress, anxiety, burnout, and performance. The context in which we were looking at was the healthcare environment, and we exclude other environments. As far as concerned timing, we considered pre-post interventions and also before after study. And finally, concerning the study types and design, we considered systematic reviews and narrative reviews. And we so excluded other study design such as cohort study, case control, and other observational studies. As far as concerned the indicators of effectiveness, the effectiveness of the intervention was based on several outcome measures. First of all, the primary outcome was considered the well-being and also the perceived stress. These are the main outcomes that we were looking at, but also we, in the same time, we have a look on secondary outcomes, including mood, anxiety, burnout, and performance. As far as concerned data extraction and quality assessment, we use two different tools in order to make the quality assessment of the reviews. We use for systematic reviews the Answer tool, Answer1 tool, and for narrative reviews the INSA tool. And we will go into details in few moments. Well, what about the answer? From the methodological point of view, this is very important, and I will show you in a few minutes some details. The answer tool consists of 11 items and has good faith and content validity for measuring methodological quality of systematic reviews. So only systematic reviews. And these are the items that we considered. Was an a priori design provided? Was there duplicate study selection data extraction? Was a comprehensive literature search performed? Was the status of publication used as inclusion criterion? Was a list of studies, both included and excluded, provided? Were the characteristics of the included studies provided? Was the scientific quality of the included studies and documented? Was the scientific quality of the included studies used appropriately in formulating conclusions? Were the methods used to combine the findings and studies appropriate? Was the likelihood of publication bias assessed? And finally, was the conflict of interest states? For each item, we assign the point, one point for the answer yes and 0 point for the answer no. So the possible reviews were judged as from 0 to 11 as a score for answer. Concerning the INSA tool, The INSA tool consists of 7 criteria and includes a point system according to which each valid answer corresponds to 1 point. So the review can be considered of good quality if we have a total of at least of 5 points. What are the 7 points considered using this tool for narrative review? The International Narrative Systematic Assessment tool. Well, first of all, the background of study, clearly explained, or the state of heart. The objective is clear. The third, definition, motivation of selection of studies. Description of the characteristics of included studies is clear in the paper. So also the presentation of results. The conclusion is clear. And finally, the authors declare that there is or not conflict of interest regarding publication of the article. Concerning the data synthesis, and this is the final point concerning the methodology, results have been grouped on the basis of the type of interventions. 3 main subcategories were finally identified. So the MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, the MBIs, so mindfulness-based interventions, and other techniques. Well, what about the results of this umbrella review? This is the flow chart according to Prisma. You can see that the records identified through different databases were different. That's why we need to look at not only a single database, but at least 2 or 3, in this case, 3 databases, such as PubMed, Scopus, and Web of Science. We found 23 papers in PubMed, 15 in Scopus, and 54 in Web of Science. And after the removal of the duplication, we collected 31 records, and some of these 10 were excluded, looking at title, abstract, or study design. And finally, we look at full text articles, 21, and 6 of them were excluded, and we included in the final systematic review of reviews 15 papers, 11 systematic reviews, and 4 narrative review. Now I will show you some relevant results. Concerning countries, most reviews were carried out in USA, Canada, and Australia. 1 review was conducted in Ireland and another in Lebanon. And this is the quality assessment concerning the answer for systematic reviews. You can see that there is a wide heterogeneity of the quality. There are papers that collected 7 or 8 points that, according to us, are corresponding to the best systematic reviews on this issue. And I would like to share with you some thoughts about these 5 papers that were highly ranked according to the answer score. The first is from Lamotte, 2015, in which the authors collected papers such as randomized clinical trial, but also quasi-experimental and pre-post studies. There were 39 studies included in the review, and the primary outcome was mental health, or mental health, physical health, and physical well-being, but also mindfulness. And the secondary outcome was the sense of coherence. Participants were both healthcare professionals and healthcare students. And what about the results? So MBSR is associated with favorable effects on healthcare professional mental health and levels of mindfulness. there is no conclusion that can be drawn due to the lackness of an item level analysis and weight of specific items on scores and subscores. The other very high score, according to Amster evaluation, was from Spinelli in 2019, according to 38 studies included, the type of interventions were MBSR, but also other MBIs. And the outcome were anxiety, burnout, depression, psychological distress, and stress, according to the main outcome we look at. The results, the mindfulness-based stress reduction has the largest effect on stress, and the intervention on mindfulness-based on burnout, and also on anxiety, depression, and psychological distress. And the well-being outcomes were most affected by meditation. These are the two highest scored systematic reviews. There are also other very good systematic reviews concerning hospital employed physician, nurses, but also nursing students, medical students, and essentially healthcare professionals. In every systematic reviews, MBIs are mainly associated with improvements of stress and anxiety, and all the interventions are associated with positive outcomes in relation to the chosen measure, especially burnout. This is a picture concerning the systematic reviews. I would like also to show you the quality of the narrative reviews. There is only one single narrative review from Irving in 2009 that was very highly ranked, that the final rating was 7, and these are the characteristics. The type of interventions are mainly mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness meditation. The study included were not so high, 10, and the primary outcome was psychological symptoms, but also empathy, burnout, and relaxation. And what about the results? Both clinical and non-clinical population research on mindfulness has been limited to several issues, and research initiative is weak on mindfulness upon process and outcome variables, and diversified research methods are recommended. This is a narrative review that is in some view is a little bit crucial. So most of the reviews examined studies that evaluated the effect of MBSR techniques on healthcare professionals and healthcare students. This program developed by Kabat-Zinn was mainly conducted, consisting of 80 weekly 2.5-hour sessions and 1 full day silent retreat between the 6th and 7th class. There was a general agreement regarding the results, since they found out that mindfulness-based stress reduction has an effective role in reducing stress in our target sample, so healthcare professionals. Also, mindfulness-based interventions are very interesting. The review conducted by Van der Riet and colleagues mainly focus on nurses and nursing students and consider various mindfulness meditation techniques to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, burnout. Spinelli and colleagues found other MTI were more effective on burnout. Gil-Martin and colleagues included studies that incorporated different MBIs, some focusing only on mindfulness, but others including mindfulness with multifaceted release program to reduce mitigation errors. Others use a combination of lecture, discussion, and group independent practice session. Again, most of the studies reported statistical significant improvements. So, what we can say at the very end? Well, concerning stress, the results suggest that the techniques evaluated can be effective in helping this target population to cope with stress due to high demand and workplace stress. The healthcare professionals and also students can have an experience of high level of stress, and mindfulness-based interventions were generally found to reduce symptoms and to improve mental outcomes. Other mindfulness-based interventions and stress management interventions also led to very good mental health state in participants. Concerning burnout, burnout was also frequently measured in these reviews, and Mailing used the Maslach burnout inventory, which reported positive results. The review from Van der Heet demonstrated that mindfulness meditation has proved to be a protective strategy that builds emotional regulation. And can be very important from the prevent point of view concerning burnout development. What about anxiety, depression, and well-being? O'Driscoll and also Rab and colleagues underlined the potential benefit of mindfulness-based stress reduction through the meditation of compassion and self-compassion. These effects have particular interest for the healthcare professional for improving work relationship, in particular job satisfaction, but also increasing perceived comfort with patients. Again, the review from Van der Riet and Spinelli demonstrated that engagement in mindfulness meditation programs, especially when accompanied by regular practice, appear to be most effective in increasing well-being. Some limitations must be acknowledged. First of all, most studies included in single reviews had small sample size and the grade of heterogeneity varying from moderate to high for different outcomes, and this can be a potential bias. Again, many studies there are control group was lacking, making it difficult to provide evident outcomes. Again, the intervention settings often vary with the studies and mainly to the difficulty for participants to attend the courses at the same time of the day due to different work shifts. And so it is very difficult to recommend a standardized mindfulness-based stress reduction or MBI's approach to better evaluate the outcome. Moreover, almost all studies did not include follow-up observations, making it difficult to establish the long-term effects of the interventions. And finally, the studies that use a follow-up, so a sort of cohort study with the research randomized or not, show no sustained effect, and this suggests that the courses concerning mindfulness-based stress reduction should be continually implemented in order to maintain the benefits over time. This is a crucial point. So, what to do? Do you want to try? If you want to try, there is some available tools. I show you the meditation anxiety that is present on the web page of work, and also you can do by yourselves using a meditation for practice. These are 6 points that you can use by yourselves, and this is a posture practice that can be used at the very beginning stage of meditation, or simply there's something to do for a minute. Take your seat, notice what your legs are doing, straighten but don't stiffen your upper body, and sit with your upper arms parallel to your upper body. Drop your chin a little and let your gaze fall gently downwards. Be there for a few moments, so relax, pay attention to your breath or the sensation in your body, and begin again. And so this is some concerning your posture, and when your posture is established, feel your breath, or say some, follow it, and it goes out and it goes in. Some version of the practice can put more emphasis on the out breath, and for the in breath, you simply leave a special pause. So come back, you go away, you come back, you go away, you come back, and so on. And if you want to make a very simple mindfulness meditation, this is a suggestion, a 5 minutes breathing meditation to cultivate mindfulness just for starting. This is just a suggestion. You can follow or not, but if you want, I really recommend just to start this stress. So thank you for listening and hope that mindfulness can be very useful for you and for your patient.
Thank you. This was wonderful, and I have to say, I did the mindful exercise while you were talking, and it was easy to do. And I'm going to download the app that you put on as well. We have someone here. Let me just see. Audie, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask? I don't know if her microphone is on. Let's see. I found this very, very interesting and important because stress and burnout are just so insidious in healthcare. And I think, COVID actually may have precipitated it even more. What do you recommend managers doing for their employees? Is there something that, takeaway message for managers?
Well, I can say that first of all, we need to recognize that workplace stress has several components. One of these components is the individual stress, and we can have an impact on individual stress looking at the mindfulness-based stress reduction and also other techniques. And this is the individual level. But mainly, we need to recognize that the stress in the workplace is mainly caused by other characteristics, and mainly at the managerial level and the organizational level. So we need also to suggest the employee to look at the managerial aspects. There are a lot of things that we can do in order to suggest many things that are capable to reduce the level of stress in the workplace. And this is so important for healthcare professionals because uh, our work is not only stressful, but is very important for others. So for the patients and for the also for the parents and the relatives of the patients, and I can say for the society. So it is very important that healthcare professionals are not affected by work-related stress.
Thank you. I like how you have delineated it in different ways. Um, what do you think um, could be a next step in research?
Well,
What?
I
Yes.
yes, it's very interesting question. I what we learned from this umbrella review was that there was a huge heterogeneity in performing research concerning this part, and we need to make some uh, uh, something that can be replicated like medicine, and according to our research, we need to make a, a sort of box in which we will find every intervention that we can make, and according to that intervention, we will find a particular outcome. So the research should go in the sense, in the way to make everything that can be replicable. This is very important from the research point of view.
Thank you so much. And last, if you had, and this is always a fantasy, sort of unlimited money to conduct a study, what would you and your team do next?
Well, I can say what we are performing now at the teaching hospital Policlinico Umberto I in Rome. We are just starting a very big randomized clinical trial with 4 different interventions, one based on mindfulness, the second on yoga, and the third group will be assigned to visual thinking strategies, and the last group on forest bathing. And uh, for each interventions, we will have 3 forms of delivery. In presence, the course in presence, the second type, the course online in streaming, and the other, the course that is recorded. So you can do the course every time when you want. And the main outcome we are looking at is to understand whether or not these forms of interventions are useful to reduce stress in the healthcare professionals, and if we can use also the streaming course or also the recorded course, like a course at distance recorded, as usable tools in order to reduce the stress in the healthcare professionals.
This sounds like such an important study. I hope once it's concluded and you start writing it up, you'll submit a paper to work.
Oh, it could be wonderful. If you want, we can submit also the protocol if you want.
We'd love that. That would
Okay.
be well. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time. This was so interesting and so important. This is a topic that we all need to make sure that we integrate into our own daily lives and to encourage others to do the same. So I want to thank you so very much for publishing in Work, for being part of the journal itself, and for being the speaker today on Learn at Work.
Thank you to you for inviting me. It's a really pleasure to talk with you about these issues.